That dumb hammer doesn't scare me. Boom! Oh no!
Boy!
Stop!
Boy!
The openness of the new God of War goes beyond the design of the earlier games. Transitioning from Greek to Norse mythology could have been disastrous at best, considering Kratos' deeply personal reasons for destroying the pantheon of gods of Mount Olympus. And thankfully, the new God of War aims to be much more than a violent tour of Asgard. With his innocent son, Atreus, Kratos sets out on his journey in a remarkably well-paced story packed with genuinely surprising moments. Kratos is a pretty bad father, but he tries. Through Atreus' eyes, we see a new side of the God of War. The first act of killing in the game is viewed through the lens of hesitation. It's an interesting narrative thread to watch the young boy come to grips with the nature of his heritage, rather than attempt to absolve the former Kratos of wrongdoing because he cares for his son. God of War gives both Kratos and Atreus plenty of room to grow. God of War has always showcased absurdly, and I mean absurdly, large creatures in intense, fast-paced boss battles, and this entry preserves that ludicrous scale of everything presented. Brilliantly rendered character faces and evocative voice acting drive the emotional narrative, but the game's overall direction is the real star. The camera blends seamlessly between cutscenes and gameplay, often so well that I didn't realize when control had been taken away or given back to me. This single shot, as you could put it, style of presentation lends a dramatic tension to the perfectly nuanced, more mature nature side of Kratos. The game aims to portray. I saw, honestly, loading screens only upon when I loaded the game and installed it, went to a save menu, or when I died. Other than that, there's barely any, if at all, load screens, which is a phenomenal feat given how amazing this game looks. So, several scenes track from combat to a conversation and back to exploration without changing the angle or perspective. Put simply, this is one of the most cinematic games I've ever played in my life. As engaging as it is to think critically about why Kratos does so much killing, it's hard not to enjoy those violent delights. Kratos begins God of War equipped with a weapon called the Leviathan Axe, which looks like any old wood-handled Viking battle axe, except for its built-in power to freeze anything it touches, a property that comes in handy during puzzles as well as combat. The axe makes for a great change of pace from the standard hacking and slashing, as you can throw it to pin enemies and objects and watch it burst through the oncoming foes as you call it back to your hands. Switching to Kratos' bare fist to pummel an unarmed minion while my axe was holding a tougher enemy in place felt very empowering, as was the simple manner in which I could command Atreus to launch off a blast or volley of arrows to stun stragglers. Kratos also has a shield strapped to his left arm, although it only expands to its proper size when it's actively being used, and his starting armor set includes worn wrappings of exile, which are leather forearm wraps that conceal a dark secret, which is one of the few elements in the opening of God of War that suggests that Kratos hasn't quite been able to leave his bloody past behind. The combination of hand-to-hand fighting, axe, shield, and Atreus gives Kratos a lot of combat options from the get-go in God of War, and that's before you upgrade his skills, weapons, or armor, or those of Atreus. Whenever my plan of attack was starting to feel completely mindless or, repetitive as most action games can get, the combat system would always introduce some new mechanics. And the game system in and of itself would introduce new mechanics of upgrading my abilities, such as the skill tree and light RPG elements that are available with customizable armor and the like. But it's nothing too overwhelming to choose from. And I'll be completely honest here. I didn't expect God of War's axe-based combat and hand-to-hand combat to feel as much as it does like well, God of War. The reliance on distracting puzzle rooms, honestly, is one of the downsides of this game. It's very played out, especially with the backtracking. Too often, Kratos and Atreus reach their goal only to be told that they need to retreat, find some new magical object, and return it if they want to press on. The fast travel system is needlessly complicated, and while the world isn't massive, it starts to get grating to be heading between the same destinations repetitively. So, all in all, the promise of a God of War, or the promise of a changed Kratos, certainly sets grand expectations for the new God of War. The story manages to provide a thoughtful meditation on its hero's legacy, the nature of his gratuitous violence, what it means to engage in such senseless killings, and bringing Kratos back to think about the terrible things he's done. And honestly, to ask himself the most important question: can I change? And can I change for the betterment of my son? While this game offers plenty of callbacks and references to the mythology of the past, this God of War is easily the best entry by making every attempt to make the game a very unique and worthwhile experience. Thereby, this game is Casanova approved, highly recommended.